Tonight, what do the latest restrictions and easing of them mean for regional residents? And dead fish found at First Creek, the EPA investigating the cause.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Louise Huber begins now.
Good evening, everyone. In less than 5 hours, South Australia will move to further ease its restrictions, with the cross-border travel buffer zone reinstated and home gatherings capped at 50 people. Authorities warn that could all change, though, if any more coronavirus outbreaks are recorded. Nathan Richter has the story.
After 11 days since a positive case in South Australia, authorities have begun to wind back restrictions. As of midnight tonight, cross-border travel will ease. Anyone coming here from Tasmania, WA, Queensland and the Northern Territory can transit in New South Wales and Canberra without needing to quarantine for 14 days.
If you are travelling from a safe zone through one of those airports, you are now able to take advantage of those flights.
Cross-border communities have also been awarded a reprieve.
As of midnight, those cross-border community members will be able to resume their activities within that 40k buffer zone that we have stipulated.
That means Victorians within that buffer zone can enter SA for shopping, sport and work.
And this is based on the reducing level of risk that we're seeing from Victoria and the way they are managing the active cases, which is still of concern.
Home gathering numbers in South Australia will also be increased tomorrow from 10 to 50. Authorities say they're still hopeful we'll be able to welcome back visitors from the ACT and New South Wales in the next 2 weeks, but admits that all depends on there being no major outbreaks.
The Far West Local Health District has praised the community's continued vigilance around the coronavirus. The district has chalked up 2 milestones this week, with testing and screening numbers on the rise.
Over 140 days of being COVID-free, the Far West, one of the safest regions in New South Wales.
That really does indicate that people are still, getting the message and really they're not second guessing and they're getting tested, which is really great news.
In the past 7 days, the Far West Health District has notched 2 big milestones in its fight to prevent the spread. Over 5,000 tests carried out and more than 100,000 screenings conducted. Residents in the region still keeping safe.
1 in 5 person has been tested. And if you look at our screening, you're looking at effectively, every person being screened at least 3 times.
The district announced today it would be updating its website for locals looking to travel interstate. With the Queensland travel bubble and restrictions potentially easing in South Australia, every state's travel information will be in one place.
Easier for them, instead of actually searching, SA Health and Queensland Health and Victoria Health individually, they can really connect with our website.
Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Near Star has confirmed dead fish were found in Port Pirie's First Creek yesterday morning by environmental officers. A spokesperson for Near Star says the company has not identified a link between the dead fish and its operations. The company made a public post through its Facebook page alerting the community. The Environmental Protection Authority will also be investigating the cause. Member for Giles, Eddie Hughes, says he's hopeful to boost Labor's outreach across the region following the shock announcement he'll step down as Shadow Primary Industries Minister to focus on his own electorate. The move comes amid the recent redistribution of districts, which saw his seat take on thousands of additional voters from neighbouring Liberal-held Stewart. He says he's not going anywhere and will continue to advocate for the Upper Spencer Gulf.
And I will be gaining an area that Labor hasn't strongly campaigned in for a number of years. So I believe I can lift the Labor vote.
Mr Hughes says he's hopeful the decision will help strengthen his party in the lead up to the 2020 state election. Still to come tonight, we take a look at how businesses are faring in Broken Hill and Port Lincoln students prepare to wow audiences on the big screen. Hello again. Despite being in the middle of a pandemic, Broken Hill business owners say they're doing okay. A recent surge of tourists in the region and consumer confidence locally helping to balance the books.
still making a sale with shoppers keeping it local.
With the talk of easing of restrictions and things like that, I think it's just putting a little bit of confidence back into people.
I think it's just opened a lot of locals' eyes as to what is actually available here on offer, and that they don't always need to go away.
Broken Hill businesses have borne the brunt of the COVID-19 pandemic, now starting to see more customers return to their stores. With the recent influx of school holiday visitors and the South Australian border potentially reopening soon, things are looking up.
From our point of view, we keep pretty busy, just keep constant, but a diverse business is probably why we are busy, at the times that we are.
We're turning a little bit of a corner. Obviously, we don't know what's around the corner. Anything could happen. But yes, I think things are going really well in town at the moment.
The borders dominated discussions at last night's council meeting. Councillor Kennedy's motion calling on the Mayor to use her Labor ties to lobby the state to open the border was amended. Councillors instead voting to commend the Mayor on her campaigning. Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Peninsula students are preparing for this year's Festival of Music, which for the first time will hit the silver screen. COVID restrictions are forcing organisers to think outside the box on how to keep the music alive.
With this year's Festival of Music being cancelled, students needed a new way to let their voices be heard. They'll now be featured in cinemas across South Australia performing the festival songs.
It's like the first time and it's pretty nerve-wracking, but it's really exciting.
Each year the festival brings together students across South Australia in Adelaide for a special live concert, but organisers were forced to cancel this year due to the pandemic.
Organisers have decided to put together a big video that they've created where all the schools around the state can go to a cinema on the 23rd of September and have a big sing-along while they watch the movie, so it should be really good.
Students at Port Lincoln Primary School have been practising hard, warming up their vocal cords for what they say will be an unforgettable performance.
I'm excited because we get to do something different and we get to go to the cinema with our choir and we get to watch a movie that's been made by the Festival of Music. Really fun, and you can just be yourself and it helps you with any of your emotions.
Teachers say they're still hopeful a regional festival in Port Lincoln will be held later this year, set to showcase students across the Eyre Peninsula.
As with everything else, we're just holding our breath and waiting to see whether it can go ahead.
I just really hope that whatever happens, we all get to sing together and have lots of fun.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Students from Stirling North Primary School are calling on the community to donate essential items for a homelessness drive they're running. The drive is part of a community engagement program, an initiative driven solely by the students.
Sorting through piles of donated goods aimed at helping those within the community from inside the classroom.
What we do is called activating student voice, and we got the students to brainstorm issues of local significance that they thought were affecting our community. We narrowed it down to bushfires and homelessness. From there, we decided homelessness was the one we could actually make action on.
Set to not only give back, but also break stereotypes surrounding homelessness.
Now that we've learnt about it, I've learnt that it's not always people living on the streets, they just don't have a permanent residence.
Like couch surfing, so you're going from one house to another, and you could be in a crowded home with lots of people, and you could sometimes be in a car.
Just days into the drive, they've collected dozens of items, just a small piece of a large puzzle that will surely provide some relief for those living rough.
Something so big around the world, and it needs to be helped, I guess. So we thought we'd donate stuff to the Salvation Army, which they help people sleeping rough.
Anyone wanting to donate items can drop them off at the school's reception.
Hygiene and health items, sanitary items, blankets, old backpacks that we can put the stuff in, and non-perishable foods like nuts, dried fruit and vegetables, or tinned goods.
Laura Milovanovic, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. Port Pirie residents encouraged to have their say on how to make the town more inclusive, and the finest drops to be on show for the Clare Wine Awards. Welcome back. Port Pirie Council is preparing to create a disability access and inclusion plan. Residents are called on now to provide feedback to help make the community accessible for everyone.
planning to transform the community to make it accessible to everyone.
To make sure that we plan in the future that when we do a new shop building, for example, that we've got wide doorways and ramps and all that sort of stuff. Disability access should be rife all the way through our community.
Port Pirie Council is now gathering ideas on what can be improved for those living with a disability.
We have a lot of old buildings because we're traditionally an old city, so all of the new updates that are coming through to buildings need to be considered for disabled people.
Other councils across the Spencer Gulf also implementing their own disability inclusion plans. Whyalla Council installed a wheelchair accessible swing and beach chairs on their foreshore last year. These new additions popular with locals. The Port Pirie Mayor says they'll be considering all ideas put forward from residents, including playground equipment.
By all means, if there's a need and the community wants it, then we'll investigate it.
Residents are encouraged to have their say through the council's website.
If you're out there, you've seen it, log on to our website, please fill it in. It is important because it's your future.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Uni Hub Spencer Gulf is gearing up to move into its new home. The Port Augusta City Council has signed a 5-year lease for the hub to relocate to the Institute Theatre next year.
From dancing to studying, this will be the new reality for the Institute Theatre.
The steering committee up here have really long wanted a CBD presence, just somewhere that we can grow and expand.
Plans are already underway on how to use the space. The Uni Hub coordinator says it'll be a great place for students to use.
Having a place like this will give people the ability to access the study centre on the weekends and also out of hours. A lot of our students have other commitments or work commitments.
There's hopes the relocation will help revitalise the city CBD and get some foot traffic on the main street.
We do know that even just having students coming and going from the building and our own staff really helps to create more activity in the main street, so that's really positive.
A move welcomed by business owners.
It's a great idea because they might pop into some of the local businesses during their lunch hour or when they finish work or even across to the gym, so I think it's a fantastic idea.
Events looking to use the facilities will be eligible to use the building given approval.
It'll depend on the time frame and the time of year and how that lines up with what Uni Hub are doing, but that can be a way people can negotiate with Uni Hub to see if that can fit in when it's required.
We're very keen to keep working with the council and local community groups to make sure that we can accommodate some of the major local events like the Christmas Tree Festival, for example.
Laura Milovanovic, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Langton's Clare Valley Wine Show is set to kick off mid-October and will be showcasing the best drops of the region. Despite a difficult year for the industry, judges are hoping the event will give much-needed recognition to local grape growers.
Celebrating the best drop Clare Valley has to offer, the show will go on for this annual event following a very challenging year.
The judging will happen for 3 days throughout the week and then it will culminate in the trophy presentation and lunch on the Friday the 16th.
Fairly rigorous scrutiny to see where everyone's at.
Around 40 wineries are expected to enter, exclusive to Clare Valley producers.
Everyone wants to basically see how they're going against everyone else, so it's the best opportunity to line up a whole lot of wines and do some benchmarking.
Wine journalist and chair of judges Nick Ryan says it will be a tight competition with many elements put into a drop. An all-South Australian panel of 9 judges set to critique the wines.
And even an international judge, but this year because of COVID and borders being closed, we've got to keep everyone fairly tight. So this year our judges are coming from the Adelaide Hills, from Coonawarra, from the Barossa.
There's plenty of room for recognition with multiple titles up for grabs.
22 different trophies that are presented on the Friday. So yeah, sort of ranging from best red wine through to, best rosé of show.
It's been a tough year with low yielding and COVID-19 restrictions. Now wine export tariffs are also threatening the industry. Organisers say these awards are imperative to lift spirits and give winemakers some much needed community morale.
A good opportunity to get everyone together, have a look at all their efforts throughout the year and over the last couple of years, and yeah.
Now more than ever, it's important to support Clare Valley's wine industry.
You see, this is a beautiful place, makes some of the finest wines in the world.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. We'll see where the fish are biting and we'll have the weather details with Britt. Hello again. Now let's hear from the experts with this week's fishing tips.
Welcome another week around the Gulf Fishing Tips. You know, a couple of weeks ago we gave you the tip about snook. Usually around the September time they come, but they've come a little bit early this week, and I'm seeing big numbers of guys catching them. It's a lot of fun when you're trawling along the channel edge just in front of Roona Island. Also the Wardspit area, Cocklespit area, you can always get yourself a feed of fish. They're not normally in a big deep water, so probably something around the 4 metres you'll go very, very well. If you've got a bit of time, you could head over to Barrows Beach. You'll find yourself some Tommies there and also some King George whiting in the berryweed, so just be careful of your tides when you have to get back. That's all we've got this week. We'll see you next week.
G'day and welcome to this week's fishing tips from Port Augusta, Jewel of the North. There are some kingfish schools swimming around. Haven't heard of anyone catching any, but they're being spotted up at the train bridge and also down at the powerhouse on those clock calm days. King George whiting are pretty good. Pretty big at the moment. You have to sort of fight for your bag limit, but the ones you are getting are quite big, and the odd grass whiting getting mixed in there with the catches as well. Squid at this time of year, just about everywhere. They'll start tapering off. You can feel that all the magpies are starting to swoop a little bit, so the change of season's in, so I'll be stocking up on your squid. That's all we have from the Jewel of the North.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. We'll start locally, and there's been some snook caught around Boston Island and also up along the North Shore. The best whiting reports we've had over the past week has been from Carcass, but the fish have been quite fickle and tide dependent down there. Up at Tumby, out at the group, there's been some good reports of whiting and really good sized squid. Over at Coffin Bay, there's been some salmon trout around the Racks and the Brothers, and whiting continue to bite really well out at Farm Beach at the moment. And there's also been a few nice flathead and some Tommies as bycatch out that way. Inside the bay system at Coffins, there's been some gummy sharks at night time. Well, that's all for this week. We'll see you again with more tips next week.
And for a look at the weather, here's Britt Aylen.
Thanks, Louise, and good evening. It's been a sunny day across the region with maximum temperatures up to 4 degrees above average. Port Augusta recorded a high of 25 degrees today. 25 was also the top at Whyalla. Port Pirie and Woodna both reached 22 degrees, Kadina and Cleve 20, Broken Hill 19, Port Lincoln 18, Clare 17 and Coffin Bay 16. From the satellite, mostly clear and dry about South Australia, with stable winds leading to milder overnight temperatures. More on that in just a moment, but first let's take a look at tomorrow's Gulf waters. Northeasterly winds tending northwesterly at 10 to 15 knots, turning southwest to southeasterly in the afternoon. Seas below 1 metre with south to southwesterly swells. Partly cloudy with a high of 17 at Port Lincoln tomorrow, Cleve mostly sunny and 21, Woodna mostly sunny tomorrow with a top of 25 degrees. Mostly sunny at Whyalla tomorrow, a top of 20, Port Augusta sunny and 24 degrees, 4 overnight at Kadina but warming up to a high of 18 degrees tomorrow. Sunny and 21 at Port Pirie, Clare a low of 4, then mostly sunny with a top of 18 degrees. Broken Hill mostly sunny and a top of 19. Now let's take a quick look ahead to the weekend. Sunny on Saturday with strong winds, particularly about the west coast and eastern Eyre Peninsula. Warming up at Port Augusta with a high of 27 degrees. Woodna also 27, Whyalla and Port Pirie both 25, Broken Hill with a top of 24, Port Lincoln, Kadina and Adelaide all 23 degrees. Sunday, fine and partly cloudy about the Spencer Gulf. Broken Hill, sunny and 23. Cooler elsewhere with a top of 21 forecast for Port Augusta. Whyalla and Port Pirie both 19. Woodna with a high of 18 degrees. Port Lincoln and Kadina both 17. And finally now a look at Monday. Partly cloudy across much of the region, Port Augusta with a top of 19, Woodna 18, Whyalla and Port Pirie both with forecast highs of 17 degrees, Broken Hill sunny and 16, cloudy at Port Lincoln with a top of 15 degrees. And Louise, we're both wearing our daffodil pins today as tomorrow is Daffodil Day. We invite you to support the Cancer Council to help them continue their life-saving cancer research.
Thank you, Britt. Certainly a very important cause. Mine's a bit lost though on this top. And that's your local news for this Thursday evening. Thank you as always for joining us. We'll have updates later. Until then, have a lovely evening. Good night.